fermented folks, and welcome to another episode of Fermented Fiction, the show where we ferment our own livers while debating the best genre fiction works in the realm, whether that be books, movies, shows, whether it be fantasy, sci-fi, or horror. Tonight, though, it's horror for sure because we have a horror icon on the fucking show. So excited to have you here, Wendy Wagner. Thank you so much for joining us tonight.
I'm so excited to be here. This is going to be great.
It's going to be a good time. And Wendy is fresh off the book tour trail, fresh off the road, long trips all over the country to promote her new book, Girl in the Creek, which if you haven't read yet, you totally should. It's fucking awesome. It's kind of like a super evil version of a Scooby-Doo mystery with lots of nice mycology horror and outdoor horror, isolation horror. So yeah, go check it out. Wendy knows what the hell she's doing. She knows how to scare you, and she knows how to do it in a strangely like cheery way, which will make sense after you get to know her a little bit during this episode. But before we do that, let's get to know our hosts, just in case you don't. We have the usual three. We're missing Colin tonight, but that's okay. Let's start with our personal updates. We'll end with Wendy, so y'all can meet her a little more formally. Travis, what's your personal update, buddy?
You know, when we decided to do these double October episodes, everything about it's great, except for it gets hard to double down on the personal updates because I don't have a lot going on in my life. So I got new headphones.
That a boy?
But they're kind of exciting because for people who don't know me, I have what's called cauliflower ear from wrestling. So I can't actually wear anything that isn't over the ear headphones. So I've never been able to wear AirPods, but Shocks made these funky little over the ear versions of AirPods.
Oh, nice.
And I'm very excited about that because I've always wanted to kind of have a more travel friendly pair, and now I can.
Nice. So, and luckily it's not like 2002, so everyone won't think you're a total douche for having like those earphones, you know?
No.
I think these days we just all rock them. We're all talking on
we all
phones,
just kind of have them
on headphones.
Yeah.
Those guys were a cut ahead actually, you know? Maybe we owe them an apology, but maybe not. There were definitely some Giga Chads among them. You never know. Are you guys wearing the same headphone?
Are we?
No. See, I also have freakish ears because my mother likes to tell people that I was born with my ears just totally flat and that she shaped them by just like, and so, yeah, like regular earbuds aren't going to go in there.
Sure.
They're just not.
Sure.
So I got these cute little Bose guys that just kind of clip in.
Yeah.
Those are pretty fun.
Those are pretty neato.
Mine were from Loving Violence.
Yeah, there you go. Sure.
Mine was from being born for violence.
Your ears were meant to be not even cauliflowerable. And your mom ruined that. But it probably made you a less violent person, so that's good. And handsome. Made you a handsome boy. In that Letterman there, fitting for the theme of the show. Good move there. Good move, Jeremy. I might go throw on my Rams jersey real quick just to be part of things.
Go get that.
I will.
Yeah.
While you do that, though, while I do that, rather, you being me, what's your personal update?
Hey, yeah. So my update, in addition to having the freakishly deformed ears that we all know about now, is that the other day, my wife, whom I love, she's my favorite person in the world, she said the most threatening thing that I've ever heard come out of somebody's mouth. It was incredible. Backstory, I was having a migraine at the time, and she said to me, "I don't like seeing your head." Now, she explained herself by further saying, like, what she means is she doesn't like to see me in pain. I'm like, oh, that's very sweet. That's a terrifying way to say something incredibly sweet. Oh,
Hey,
and that is my favorite person.
She's a great person. Shout out to Megan. But yeah, that's a crossing of genres, little genre blending, kind of like we're doing tonight, and I appreciate that.
Yeah.
My personal update, since we have Wendy Wagner on the call, I think I may have said this once already, but I am now on the masthead at Nightmare Magazine as an assistant editor, which is really, really, really exciting for me. I've been reading Nightmare for like a decade. It's my favorite magazine, hands down. I listen to all the audiobook versions. I mean, you guys have Steve Rudnicki on the call, which is just ridiculous. Like to have him all the time. He's so good. And lots of other good narrators, but love Nightmare Magazine. So thrilled to be working with them. And it's really, really, really exciting for me. So thanks again, Wendy, for taking a punt on me there and bringing me on to help out. And it's been a blast. That's me. Maybe Wendy, you could tell us a little bit more about you, maybe a little bit more about Nightmare, which I know is either celebrating a birthday soon or has already done so recently. And about your book, Girl in the Creek, and whatever else you're doing.
Yeah, well, Nightmare turned 13 this year, which is kind of a big deal in horror world, right?
Yeah, and the lit
on
mag
October
world.
1st. Pretty cool. Yeah, that was cool. And like back in July, my Girl in the Creek came out, and it was great because this weekend I was at the Merrimack Valley Halloween Book Festival, which is like a fundraiser for a library out in Massachusetts. I had never been to New England before, but it's sort of like the motherland for us horror people. And it was cool because there were a lot of like really, really great writers there. Like Paul Tremblay was there, John Langan, and actually it was really cool because John Langan told me that he really liked my book, The Deer Kings, which is it's a football horror novel. Yeah, so it was like kind of perfect timing to hear, like when we're going to talk about this story. Also, it's basically the best thing that could ever happen because his book, The Fisherman, is probably my favorite horror novel. So I tried to keep it together and not just like collapse under the table, like, oh my gosh, that's the best thing ever. I played it cool. Yeah, but it was great because my brother went with me and we drove around New England. We went to Portland, Maine. We saw the graves of like Louisa May Alcott and Henry Thoreau, Ralph Waldo Emerson. Then we made a little pilgrimage to like see where Lovecraft was born, where he was buried. So I feel like I'm really, really charged up on just like English literature and all things horrible. Yeah, we went to Salem. It was awesome. There were lots of people dressed up like witches. It was depressing because hanging people is depressing. But yeah, it was pretty great. So yeah, I'm full of Halloween spirit right now and excited to be here.
Well, we are super excited to have you, Wendy, and I'm glad you've had a good book tour. I'm glad that John Langan also sees your brilliance. It's also nice to know that people who, I about fanboyed when I met you, so it's nice to know that you are out there fanboying as well, or fan womaning, whatever you will say. So yeah, thanks again for being here, Wendy. We're excited to have you. And yeah, you do have some expertise with this whole sports horror thing. So let's get into it, right? Because it's a cool crossover of popular culture that is very, very dominant and prominent in our country and in the world as a whole. And horror is kind of becoming more prominent, becoming more culturally accepted and more viewed and read. And that's a really cool thing as well. So it's an interesting time to see this movie happen. And it might be kind of like Sinners that P. Jelly Clark was talking about a couple weeks ago, but I'm not sure if this would be greenlit right now. So it's cool that it got greenlit before right now, and we'll see what everybody thinks if that's actually a good thing. Him is the story of a young man, Cole Cade. Colcade, I think. I'm drawing a blank on the order of those names, but it's Colcade, and he's eat, breathe, sleep football since he was a little kid. And he has lived that mantra. He has grown up to become a college football player of great renown, and he's now kind of hoping to go into the professional football draft, which is definitely not the NFL. And we can all tell, right? We all know that this is not the NFL. The NFL does not endorse this film.
This is the USFF. That's a different. That's a whole other thing.
Totally different.
This is Dwayne the Rock Johnson's league.
Yeah, except for there are fans.
That's Cameron Cade, the guy in the movie.
Cade. Yeah, he's got fans. And that's part of the problem, because early in the movie he gets hit by with a hammer by a fan, and that gives him an injury. So then he by a fan, quote unquote, that gives him a near career-ending injury. So then he thinks he might be out of his chance to go pro, until his idol, this famous GOAT of the football world that is definitely not the NFL, offers to bring Cam over and train him at an isolated sports facility, which always works out for everybody. Cam says yes, obviously, because he's given his whole life to this pursuit. And then horror really starts to happen.
I just want to say it did work out for Creed, and it also almost worked out for Ivan Drago. They did.
That's true. That's true. Yeah, this is actually if Cam was a villain, this would have been a very successful arc for him, because it's essentially the same arc as Ivan Drago. Except for he's a hero, so we have to look at it through a different lens. Let's do that. Let's look at this through all kinds of lenses, specifically two, and they will be chosen by the dice gods. Jeremy, Wendy, are you ready to roll those D20s to see what the dice gods choose for you?
Oh, yeah.
All right. Go ahead and do it.
All right. Roll those dice. I got your 10-minute timer.
Oh, boy.
Jeremy, you first. What'd you roll?
I rolled a 9.
Not a 5. Not a 5. We're moving up in the world. Unless, Wendy, if you got a 5, this will be 4 episodes in a row, and I might shit myself on live.
I got an 11.
All right. Not a 5.
Dang.
Sweet. So Wendy,
we broke the curse.
We broke the curse. Guests no longer rolling really, really low. That was scaring me for a bit. You are arguing 4. So that means you will start when I start this timer. Are you ready to debate?
I think so, hopefully.
Jeremy, are you ready to debate?
Oh, I was born ready for this debate.
Sweet. All right. Wendy, you're kicking us off in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Well, Him is a terrific movie. It is totally over the top. It is not subtle at all. So if subtle is your thing, you'll be disagreeing with me. But it is got a lot of the heightened color that you see in the movie Mandy, but focused on sports. It's filmed in a totally badass, amazing location. It was filmed in Spaceport America, which gives an amazing backdrop to everything that you see in the film. Right off the bat, it starts wrestling with a lot of Christian symbolism by Cam Cade's favorite sports team is his town's local team, which are the Saviors. And right off the bat, we learn that his favorite player is the GOAT, a continued reference that is a delight. The play on word is never left untouched, and just keeps playing out in fun ways throughout the whole movie. The costumes are great. All the guys are hot and ripped, and many of them spend a lot of time with their shirts off. So in that case, if you like men with no shirts on who are hot and ripped, you're going to love this movie. There are also scantily clad women who are also really, really hot. So if you like hot chicks, you will also like this movie. It's also extremely violent and bloody, which I think is a great win in a movie. So I think, like, just on that note, right off the bat, it's a blast. It actually has some kind of good information about living life with a head injury that I was surprised by how, like, effectively they treated that. I had a friend who had a concussion who couldn't use a screen or really do anything for like months. And that's just what the hero doctor tells him to do. Like, you should be resting for a month. Instead, he goes to football camp. You can see how this is not going to go well. An absolute highlight of this movie is that, you know, you get to see repeatedly, he's got like stitches on it. He's got staples in the top of his head. And anytime something goes wrong, you get to get up close and look at that wound and the staples, and they're grisly and they're gross. They're usually weeping blood, and it's a real treat. Yeah, and the plot is a plot. It's not why you go to this movie. You go to this movie because it's like, you know, people clashing and being violent while playing football. I don't really understand football. We had to learn the rules in PE and I have forgotten them. That's okay because there are no football games in the movie, just practice. So there's a lot of people running around, throwing balls really hard at other people, having other things thrown really hard at other people, and running, which I think is the best sport of all time. So there's some great running scenes. So if you like running, you will also really like this movie. It's set in the desert, which is a nice contrast because the outside world and actually all the interiors are very like sere and gray and drab, whereas a very strong contrast to like the ultra high colored football scenes. So there's just like this real sense of like football is a heightened reality, which works really well as it sort of like wrestles with ideas about like community and religion and relationships, but not like relationships like I love you or you're my dad, but more like weird complex feelings you might have when you work with people that you admire but you envy, that you want to be like but you don't want to be like, people who are jealous of each other, young people, old, like it's very, there's no like happy relationships in this movie, and that's great because, you know, it kind of dialed into that like Leo Tolstoy, all unhappy families are unique in their own way. So you can have some very interesting character dynamics that really make this vibrant and fun. Also, I like the soundtrack, which was really delightful. Yeah, I feel like I should give Jeremy a chance to talk now after I've raved about the movie.
Yes, it should be. We should have some time to balance that out. Because, I mean, we can talk about the Christian symbolism just as heavy-handed and ham-handed as you can possibly get with the whole, like, we get it. There's people idolize these sports stars. He's the chosen one. Why not? That's something we'll come back to that just raises so many more like logistical questions than the movie will ever bother to answer. Because yeah, this movie is very, very over the top. And yeah, I am a fan of over the top stuff. Case in point, Speed Racer, maybe the greatest film ever made. This movie, however, is over the top dumb, you know. And look, everyone in this film is super hot, which is great. We all love that. We'd all hit that, so on and so forth. But you know, it's not what we're here for. Especially with a football movie, we are here for the violence, which in this is also somehow really dumb. Like, there is, spoilers, the sort of twist at the end where Cameron goes on this absolute killing spree, which, because he didn't seem to have any kind of personality throughout the entirety of the film, I didn't know if he was going to do something like that or not. And this movie starts off somewhat like grounded and serious with Cameron, you know, receiving this serious head injury that could be a career ender if he plays with it. And then while he's recovering from that same head injury, he headbutts somebody to death at like days after getting just his skull cracked wide open. Like, I get they are trying to do a message about injuries and, you know, hero worship and whatever, but they don't really stick the landing on any of it. Like, there's some things to be said about like the pressure from sports doctors to like push through the pain and like, are you injured or can you play, while also like doing crazy things for the hyper wealthy to help them live longer through weird ways. And that just kind of goes maybe nowhere. I don't know. There's something about like getting a blood transfusion from an athlete that's like, I don't know, it maybe gives you superpowers, not really explored or explained. So it's just, there's a lot that's going on and it's up in the air. And, you know, as hot as I find Marlon Wayans to be in this movie, just 10 out of 10 abs on that guy, there's the spectacle without the substance backing it up just becomes a testicle, if you will. And that's just kind of where this movie lands for me. I don't know. Any counter thoughts? Wendy?
Well, I think I felt like the details of the movie, the like meat and substance and like skeleton of the movie, they are as inexplicable as like religion itself. So I think it was sort of like speaking to that sort of thing, like being outside the realm of like making sense and needing to make sense, and just being fully full of like belief in the system. I did struggle a little with the magical blood transfusions, but you know what? It was cool and gross. Like, and the idea that you can just take brilliance and just keep like injecting it onto the next generation. So it's, you know, kind of a cool concept in a fun way. And I do think that the sports doctor is a very interesting character, in that he is both creepy and somehow heroic. Yeah.
I mean, he's
time,
fun.
Jeremy. Don't even start talking, Jeremy, because that was right on the dot. Wendy timed it. So we are done. Debate is over, and it is time to talk about what we are all consuming while we think of trivia for him and discussions for him. Clayton, you got that Rams jersey on. You ready to talk about what are you having tonight on Fermented Fiction?
Hell yeah. This Rams jersey, by the way, is Isaac Bruce, number 80 from The Greatest Show on Turf, Kurt Warner's Rams in the 90s. And I like this one because Bruce happens to be my wife's dad's name. He passed away a couple of years ago. But we go to the Rams Seahawks every year. So Deanna always reps this one at the Rams. So I just wanted that to be known. Bruce, we're rooting against the Seahawks in your name. And you can just suck on that, buddy. Okay. Bruce would have liked that message. Today, because we're talking about crossovers of genre, we're talking about sports and the obsession to reach new heights in your chosen sport. I found this cool little gem. It's from Icicle, which is one of my favorite breweries and one of my favorite places, Leavenworth. And that rock right there, that is Castle Rock. It truly exists. And it is the first rock I ever climbed. It is the first big climb I ever did. It takes like 6 pitches to climb the face. That's like the Fred Becky route. So you have to have 6 like rope lengths. So it's a decently tall climb. You feel like you climbed a whole ass mountain when you get to the top, even though there's a lot of mountain like right behind you. But it's really cool. It got me into rock climbing. It's also where I met my like current best friends, Conrad and Cameron Peterson. So I've actually really loved Castle Rock. And they recently did a crossover episode on this Kolsch, which is one of my favorite types of beer, with Formula Brewing. So this is Icicle Formula crossover, doing my favorite mountain, and it tastes delicious. And I'm so happy that it exists. Just a little sad it's limited, but maybe that's part of what makes it beautiful.
Yeah.
I'd also like just point out that that's like a great kind of beverage to be drinking for tonight, because Castle Rock, Maine, with the Leavenworth, you got the horror, you got the Pacific Northwest and New England butting heads. So good.
All the crossover. It's all happening right now. Lots of synchronicity.
Jeremy, do you have the same level of synchronicity?
Synchronicity. Well, I put a tremendous amount of thought into what to bring this evening, because do I do one of the official partners of the NFL?
Not NFL.
Jameson? It's not the NFL, so it wouldn't be appropriate.
No,
that's
Jack Daniels.
Dwayne the Rock Johnson.
Exactly. So instead,
this movie is sponsored by Moana.
The XL.
Yeah, I bet it is. But yeah, so what I ended up with is, maybe, because this movie, it's got some elevated visuals for its overall party dude energy. Mm-hmm. So what I did was I took this Jack Daniel's single barrel.
There we go.
And I made a cola old fashioned using this sugarcane cola syrup.
Okay.
So basically a Jack and Coke, but fancy.
Yeah, I love it.
I like how you called it a cola old fashioned, though. That was a sneaky way to get it in there. Yeah.
There's something about basicness being purported as fancy that maybe fits with this movie too, but I'll save my comments for later. I am drinking the same. I transferred it into an Nalgene. It looks like water. It's not. It's mead.
Okay.
I dropped the cork in the last bottle because I didn't have a bottle opener, so I had to transfer it into this nice little Nalgene. That's
continuity for the viewers and listeners.
Valhalla Meadery in Bozeman. Very big fan of it. And this is their Earl Grey. It tastes like syrupy Earl Grey tea. It's very good. And I love mead. So also the guys at Valhalla and a couple gals are fantastic, very friendly, and one of them has half a mustache. And that's his whole vibe. It's pretty sick.
It would have to be. I don't think you get to make that choice without it becoming your entire vibe.
You don't really have a choice if you leave half of it up there.
No.
That's just who you are.
There's another guy there that looks like him, and my buddy Josiah always goes in and thinks that it's him and is like, you grew the mustache back. And that guy is always like, I'm not the half mustache guy. He still has half a mustache. Yep, that's a very fun weekly experience that we get to have. And Josiah seems to never remember that he's not half mustache guy. Wendy, what did you bring to the episode today?
Well, we had just a couple. My husband had game night this weekend, and his buddies brought over a variety of beers. So I actually did have some choices. I chose not to go with the Freem, even though it looked delicious, because this one from Sun River Brewing is Rippin' Ale, and this is a Rippin' movie. So Rippin', yeah.
I love it. That's good.
Pretty good, though.
It also kind of looks like a baseball diamond.
Oh yeah, it does.
Maybe like a plate, like a home plate. So that's sportsy.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's a pale ale, so it's easy to drink.
Yeah, that's always good on this show. Couple times we've had Imperial IPAs make an appearance, and they do make an appearance.
Yeah, by hour 2, you're feeling it, Mr. Krabs.
You are.
As for trivia, this has the same delightful, happy coincidence that our last episode did yesterday. It's a pretty new movie, which means IMDb's trivia page doesn't have all the super deep cuts that fans find over the years yet. So we don't have a ton, and I looked for more, and there's not a bunch. One of my favorites is Justin Tipping, who directed this film, who previously he's had quite a few credits on TV series. Dear White People, The Shy, Black Monday. He wrote a little for 20s, Dare Me, which was another TV series. So I think this is one of his first big breaks in the film industry, but he's been working in TV since 2019-ish. So he's definitely not new, but this is his first foray into film. Anyway, he's
a writer on it too, I believe.
Yeah.
Sorry to cut you off.
No, you're good. He did his research a lot by watching 30 for 30 series from ESPN, which examined kind of like the background of former players and stuff. And he said he saw a lot he talked to a former NFL player, Ricky Williams, who's football, where was I? Who used marijuana partly for pain tolerances and was suspended multiple times by the league for violating its drug policy. So he got a little bit of a background on that.
He was so good too.
Also interviewed or kind of got background on watching the stories of like Simone Biles and Naomi Osaka, who were more vocal about their mental health struggles through athletics and such. So he definitely had an approach that he took, and you can see it in the research. Whether or not it worked, we'll talk about, but I think you can definitely see that the message he was trying to get across, that is exactly the kind of research I would expect from that. Oh, I gotta find the ones that oh yeah. I find this funny, or not funny, but I think I just like to talk about little things behind the scenes that a lot of people don't know. There's review embargoes. You all probably know this, but maybe our listeners don't. And like studios can actually pay for the embargoes to be like extended. And usually they wait until Thursday to lift those, which is like the night after the opening night is Thursday night. And so when this lifted, it was not good, but it had gotten a pretty good first wave of Thursday night, but the Rotten Tomatoes scores kind of came like full head of pretty bad.
Yeah, they did.
After those embargoes lifted. So yeah, I found that a fact that was an interesting jumping point for me to just tell people, like, if you're always clicking on the refresh button, like, I want to see the critic reviews, which I don't know how many people do that, of my movie, it's like, it depends on the studio. Some of them pay for their movies not to show the reviews until like the day after they've premiered, and sometimes that gives me a little bit of like, what are you hiding, huh?
Yeah. You see the embargo, you're like, what's going on here?
Lift that embargo for us, buddy. I think you all probably caught it. The going to watch some tape was an homage to American Psycho novel, because Patrick Bateman always says he's going to return some tapes when he goes to commit his murders, which was pretty funny. The elites are wearing pig masks as a reference to football's you being previously made of pigskin and being called pigskins. Yeah, those were some of the most interesting ones. There's one about Damon or Marlon Wayans, but I kind of want to weave it into our questions. So unless anyone else has another fact, I'll tell y'all about the box office.
Well, let's see. I have, in looking into this, this is a nearly related fact, which is that Screen Rant, for some reason, put out an entire article about why this movie didn't use the NFL or any NFL teams in it, even though I assumed that it was just obvious that the NFL would hate it.
Yes.
They would hate every part of that. And so, yeah, obviously they wouldn't. But Screen Rant if you still don't get it, they have an article all about it, just for you, whoever you are.
Yeah, there's nothing the NFL hates more than giving away any single cent of its money. So they're not going to do that. They're not going to do that.
Yeah, they're not going to voluntarily be portrayed in even the slightest negative light either.
I have no facts, but I do have a request for listeners out there. I watched this movie today and unfortunately did not have time to research the claim late in the movie that the spiral pass was invented by like a small town indigenous team.
Oh yeah.
I would love if somebody could chime off in the comments or on Instagram if you find a good article about that, or if you find out if that's actually true. I'd be fascinating to know. It's a crazy fact though.
Yeah, quick.
So I would
Colin,
like to know more
Jeff
about
C.
it.
Carter, Badwater, if you're still there. Just
Yeah.
Google it real quick.
Do it.
Help us out.
Find out. But yeah, I thought if that is a fact, it's a really cool fact that I've never heard before. And definitely really impactful, especially considering like the way that's all gone down with the Washington football team and everything. So yeah, it's not a fact, but I request an answer to a potential fact.
Yeah. All right. As for the box office, I'm so sorry to report, Him was not a success.
No.
It made its budget back almost exactly, a little bit over, $493,000 over at a $27 million budget. It made $27,493,000. So that is not a success in the eyes of any studio. It was distributed by Universal, and I think they're doing decent this year because of Jurassic World, which is a sad sentence to say. But
That is a sad sentence.
So they're not going to be like, no one's going to be coming after Justin Tipping, hopefully, for not making a successful film. That happens sometimes in really bad years, but I'm sure he'll get greenlit for something else because it was definitely divisive enough to drum up some conversation, and he definitely a track record long enough in TV that I think this movie has enough stylistic choices in it that someone's going to give him a chance to show that again. But financially, not a success. Yeah. So one of our firsts of the year didn't really have much of a buzz around it. Yeah.
It is crazy how sort of under the radar this movie was, especially considering it was Monkey Paw, and they really just haven't put out much other than bangers. So
yeah,
people are pretty like loyal to the Monkey Paw brand. I mean, that got me excited about the movie. If I see Monkey Paw, I'm like, yeah, I'm in. Like,
I have kind of hated the way Universal's been capitalizing off Monkey Paw, though, in the sense of they say like big letters Jordan Peele.
Yeah.
Tiny print, it's like produced by.
Yeah.
Everyone's like, oh, it's a Jordan Peele movie. I think I even fell for that. And then I was like, oh, no, it's just produced by Jordan Peele. It still could be good, but yeah, I don't love when trailers do that. They do the same thing with like from the they'll have in small letters from the company that brought you, and then they'll have like big letters of this super popular movie, and you're like, that doesn't mean anything.
Although that horror movie,
things.
The Host, did that really well recently. They used they were like the studio that brought you, and it said The Notebook and some other romantic comedy, and then he's like sitting down at the table, and then the girl like lifts her hand and she's chained to the chair, and it's like, oh fuck. So it's like set up like a little romantic comedy's about to start, and then it's like, no, this is a torture porn serial killer movie actually. So but it is from the same studio that brought you The Notebook.
The Notebook. Jeremy?
Well, hey, yeah, we have an update, actually.
Oh, okay.
Jeff C. Carter, holding it down in the comments, did some Googling on our behalf and found that Pop Warner, which is a nonprofit organization founded in 1929, is credited with for teaching players both the spiral Hunt and the Spiral Pass.
Okay.
Yeah, and Colin is updating us now, like at this very moment in the comments.
Okay.
They had pioneered the forward pass, the overhead spiral, and other trick plays that frustrated their opponents. Okay, so that would be the Carlisle Indians.
Sure.
Have been characterized as the team that invented football in 1907, according to Wikipedia. So thank you, Jeff and Colin, for just buttoning that up for us. I wasn't
Appreciate it.
about to do the work.
Little called an audible for the guests. There's some football lingo for you, and scored a goal. Not
Absolutely.
football lingo for you.
One
All
goal
right.
point.
We have talked enough. We want to hear from Wendy. I know usually we do the against, but I want to hear from the guest first, Jeremy, and then you'll have your time. So,
Wow.
Wendy, were you lying, or did you actually love him?
Well, I didn't love him, but I enjoyed the hell out of it, and I can't wait to rewatch it. My husband wasn't here when I did watch it. I can't wait to indulge in some edibles and rewatch it because
Edibles for sure.
First of all, that's what you should
dope.
see this movie. But yeah, the visuals were so enticing and delightful that I did like enjoy it. But also like you said, like the main character has no character. He's just like along for the ride. Like, but I do think like while the main story never really got built to like the point that I think the movie tried to, like at the end, it's like the message of like rich people just like using these poor kids to like make a lot more money, and at the end of the day the richy rich are doing great and just keep being gods. And well the actual players like are battered into pulp and like retire with head injuries and stuff. That was a good point. And I don't know if it actually like laid any of the groundwork to make that argument happen, but it made me happy to see him just like kill them all. So yeah, an enjoyable movie. I don't know. Does a movie have to be good to be enjoyable? No, not in my book. So I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
We're definitely going to talk a lot about that with this one because I have thoughts on that subject. The people know, but maybe you don't. Clay?
Yeah, I agree, Wendy. I enjoyed it as well, but if I started to try to look at it like a story, I got annoyed. So I just had to not do that. I had to just be like, it's a really well-made movie. And it clearly has a very strong directorial vision. I just don't know that it necessarily had a strong, like, in script vision of like the character has to make this transformation. It was sort of just like you said, a guy with very little development pushed around until finally he's like, I'm just going to kill all you motherfuckers. And like, we were like, sure, you should. That seems like the right thing to do at this point. But it's funny because last night we talked about Bring Her Back, which I feel like is the opposite side of the same coin, which is like one aspect of the movie is strong enough that it forgives the other things. Bring Her Back, its characters, like the characters are so strong and well fleshed out, and the relationships between them are powerful and compelling. So like there's a million plot holes, but like you don't really care. In this movie, it is like the visual aspects of the movie and the creative use of the like lighting and the music is fire. You're absolutely right about that. I love this. I actually like bought the soundtrack, or not bought it, but downloaded the soundtrack on YouTube because I was like, "It's a great soundtrack." And they had a really good grip on the like atmosphere of this movie, I think, and that carried it. But I mean, yeah, there really wasn't a lot of story, and what was there was like really telegraphed right away and was just kind of like the same story the whole way through. It didn't really change, but it was cool.
Yeah,
what did you want to say?
Would have just been a great, just 2-hour long music video. Like that would be that's
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, so I guess that was kind of my thoughts on it, but I wanted to agree because I think it is that sort of the same coin, opposite sides with the characters. Something really powerful can carry you through a movie and make it enjoyable. And I don't know, I do have to argue too that like we'll get into it.
Jeremy.
Oh yeah. Well, yeah, I didn't say anything in my arguments that I found to be untrue. Like there's a lot to this movie. I think there's a lot that's enjoyable here. They're like, Marlon Wayans is actually very compelling on screen, and not just because of his sick abs, but like the movie doesn't do anything to keep me from wondering like okay, so this kid has been groomed his entire life to become the next, he's the chosen one, right? What if, like, when did they start doing that? Did they pick him as a baby? He was groomed by his father. What if he, like, I don't know, got hit by a bus? He's the chosen one. Would they just find another one? Do they have like a few? And like, if the blood gives him superpowers, maybe, then why do they give it to him before he signs the contract? Maybe get him on board. Like, how's this group of people not been slaughtered before? Because you would.
Honestly, I never thought of the fact that, like, if you went to some athletes' houses and were just like, hey, we want you to be the greatest football player of all time, the only kicker is you have to, like, ingest this blood from the old greatest football player of all time and make basically a deal with the devil. There'd be a lot of people out there that'd be like, sick, sign me up.
Where do I sign my name? I don't want to live to be 35
Most
anyway.
of the
That's
people
old
I
people
played
shit.
football with probably would. Like, easily, quickly.
High school Clay would have totally done that. It wouldn't have been
High school
wrestling,
Clay
but
was gonna.
he was a psychopath. He would have definitely done it.
Yeah, let's all pretend you stopped being a psychopath.
Damn, Jeremy with the fire on the episode.
I'm gonna just go back on mute now. Jeez.
Yeah, man. But I think there is a lot of style in this movie, and it gets a lot of points for that, and you can ride the vibes for a very long time. But I mean, none of it really distracts from like how turned off I personally would be rolling up to what is clearly a supervillain compound with a cult out front just frothing at the mouth to kill you.
Red flag.
Yeah.
Red flag.
At least one red flag. Travis, before we go to break, can I assign?
We're not yet, are we?
In like, we got 9 minutes. You got a 9-minute question you want to ask?
Oh, I got a 9-minute question. I got to ask at least one before we go, and give my thoughts a little bit, because I'm gonna tell y'all honestly, I'm gonna try and be nice, but most of my questions are off how much I dislike this movie.
I knew you were gonna hate this movie.
My first being, okay, it did give me a thought that I much appreciate it giving me, and that is, I've been trying to pinpoint for a very long time this difference between like subjective enjoyment and what I believe to be objective standard of like a good product. Because I love Fast and Furious, and I recognize fully those are really bad movies. But this one, I think I finally figured it out. My first question is basically, I just want to know y'all's thoughts about this thought, starting with you, Wendy. It seems to me like what you need is for the subjective things to play to your personal enjoyment enough so that you forget any glaring holes in objectivity of like good art you'll see. So for this movie, personally for me, it insulted my religion a little too much. It was stylistically something I've always just disliked, and this is fully subjective. It felt like Ryan Murphy, Baz Luhrmann type, kind of in your face, very kinetic. And that's just, I don't like it. I never have. I didn't like American Horror Story. I understand that it's like got really good elements to it, but that style, I just can't do. I just get bored by it. I think it's too much. I don't think it's scary. So the two things that it was like playing hard and heavy on, I think play to certain audiences, but to me, they're exactly the opposite of what I want to see. And so all I noticed was the plot holes and the characters being terrible and all of that. So it seems like that's the balance, is like, can the subjective parts make a certain type of audience enjoy it enough that they're like, I'll ignore the other things. And maybe that's what's happening with me in Fast and Furious, where I'm like, you know what? I see this is bad, but I like guns and cars and Vin Diesel saying family, so I'm fine with it. Wendy, what do you think?
I think that's exactly it. I think it's like, you can go get a fast food dinner and it's not a real meal, right? Like, but if it's the kind of fast food that you're craving, it doesn't matter that you're eating junk. So I think that's exactly it. That like we all recognize like a good story, good storytelling, successful filmmaking, and we admire the craft that goes into shaping like a powerful story with fully realized characters and like plot that makes sense and things that affect your emotion, and that's what makes a good story. And there's like kind of objective, like you said, there's like an objective criteria that these things meet. And those are the movies that typically go on to win Academy Awards. But yeah, like you said, it's like when something tickles your particular funny bone, you can enjoy products that maybe don't meet any of like the criteria of good storytelling. For whatever that is. Like, I thought the movie Prometheus was like absolute shitbag. Have watched it 2 times, maybe 3 times, because there's a scene where somebody's head blows up and it's beautiful. I love it. It's my favorite head exploding scene that I've ever seen. Ergo, I will watch that movie again. I feel like that's kind of the case for him too. Like, there's, no good characters. The story falls apart. It's made out of tissue. Nothing makes sense. There's no character development. But I don't know. Like, I just really enjoy like ridiculous moments when people are like face to face and screaming at each other, like, that kind of thing. I don't know. It just tickles my funny bone. Yeah. And I just, yeah, I think that's why I enjoyed this movie, is it did have like some things that were somehow appealing to me.
Clay, I know you're next, but I do want to say, Wendy, that is probably the best defense of Prometheus I've ever heard, is that it has a beautiful head explosion scene. And I'm going to use that for the future of like, yeah, I know Prometheus is the worst alien movie. Maybe, arguably. There's some pretty bad ones. But, like, but the explosion scene is pretty sick. Clay.
Travis and me are going to argue about the existence of objectivity till the cows come home. And they never do. Spoiler alert, the cows are gone. They've left. They've been abducted by aliens. And it's subjective whether you believe that or not. Just like it's subjective whether you believe this movie is good. And I do believe in objective thresholds. I think there are points you could cross with quality that like sort of separate you from movies that don't have the same quality. And then the subjective enjoyment kind of like becomes subjective again. That's sort of what I believe. But I think that this movie is objectively good on a lot of levels. It is not an objectively well-written movie in terms of the story, in terms of the characters. But like, you can't argue that it's not objectively well edited, or that it's not objectively well lit or shot, or even acted for that matter. I mean, like, it's not really an actor's fault what they're written to act. So like, I think the guy who played Cam did did well. Like, he had some intense scenes. He had a lot of emotional range in that movie that he had to explore. I mean, maybe it didn't always make sense, but like, he had to go from rage to sorrow. He had to hit the big extreme. Granted, those emotions are kind of easier to hit than like subtly sad. But like, he did hit them, and they're not like, it's still not easy to hit that at a professional level in a room full of professionals. And I think everybody ultimately on that score did their job. Like, I definitely think I'm blanking on his name, the director. I'm looking
Justin Tipping.
Justin Tipping, thank you. I think Justin Tipping will get another job. I think it will be as a director. I don't know if it'll necessarily be as a writer, but he definitely like earned a job as a director, in my opinion. You put that guy directing the right movie, and it would be fucking sick. Like, yeah, I do think this was an objectively well-made movie on like the film front, the film end of things. And I think it's a well-directed movie because the performances the script asked him to pull out were pulled out. And that's like the director's job. Good. Pull out the good performances and make sure everything clicks together right in the edit.
I mean,
Jeremy.
yeah, for sure. Like, this director, you give him a coherent script, it's going to absolutely spank from beginning to end. And I think that's really clear. And I think that's where, like, now I have difficulty with objective standards as applied to a creative medium, because the thing is, for something to be objective, it has to be like a technical, measurable thing that you can like quantify, and applying that to something, and people try to apply that standard to something as subjective as a story or a performance, and I think doing that is inherently flawed. Like, there's no way to objectively quantify like how a story is going to affect somebody. Like, this movie, as a movie, it felt pretty flat for me personally, but Badwater Bouldering loved the crap out of this movie.
Yeah, they did. Shout out, Kyle. I know you'd love this, buddy.
Yeah.
Maybe it's
like
Jake. I think that's Kyle.
And I think that's and yeah, I think that's where the difference lies. There are things you can look at this movie and be like, yep, that's good. And that's like the cinematography and the lighting, the editing, the soundtrack, and the visual effects, like the sort of X-ray vision we get from time to time, which is sick. But like, it is tied to this story that just isn't doing it for me. I mean, it's a football story with very little football in it.
Yeah, there's like no football.
So little football.
He says
I definitely.
He says hut several times.
He throws a lot of balls.
A lot of balls go right into one guy's face, and he's like, hey, why are you doing this to this guy? Like, hey, why are you doing this to him? I didn't. Yeah. That's a you thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's Savior's football, baby. But before me, I want to let Wendy go because she had her hand up earlier.
Yeah.
Oh, I was just gonna say, like, when it comes to like objectivity with like storytelling, I think it's more like objectivity is maybe not the right word to use, but it's more like we have culturally produced expectations about how story works that you study, and there are like these like standards that you like, and expectations to how story will work. And I feel in many ways this film did not live up to the expectations that one has for story structures within Western storytelling. I also don't feel like it would like meet up with story structures that we know of from other kinds of storytelling either. It's really, as a storytelling experience, it is maybe not as focused on story and is more focused on spectacle.
Style.
But yeah, it looks great, and I agree with everything you said, Clay. Like the production value, like everybody who worked on this movie was bringing their A game to like making the sets, making the costumes, the lighting, editing, things like that. Yeah, the only thing that wasn't maybe bringing its A game was the script.
And that's actually what I was gonna say too. It's a nice piggyback, but like stories are allowed to not be about a lot of elements that are still essential to a story, but they're allowed to like not be about that. Like a story cannot be about its setting. The setting could just be there. A story cannot be about necessarily like its thematic message if it's really a character study or whatever, right? The theme can be simple. The theme can be like, no matter what happens, most people want their parents in their life or something like that, right? And like some kind of reclaiming that relationship story that's really a character study. But like, why does a movie always have to be about the characters? It's not allowed to not be about the characters. But I feel like that is kind of what this movie's trying to do. Like the characters weren't really human. They were more like representations of these concepts to me. Like Cam was very much a representation of like that athlete that has just dreamed about it so hard. And that's more what his character's about. He's more like representing that. And then, his mentor, White, was like the representation of like that hyper masculine influence in your training regimen that like just goes extremely hard all the time. No foot on the brake ever. And like those personalities definitely exist in the sports world, but in this movie, they're boiled down to sort of their basest parts, because I really do think they're just like meant to make us kind of get the message of the movie. And maybe that's where Tipping was a writer, and the other stuff was a little less him or something. Because it does feel like that's more what this story is very much about its message and not its characters.
See, I think you're right. This movie, well, kind of. Like, this movie is trying to be about its characters, and I think that's, I don't know. It can be, it doesn't have to be. I don't think a movie has to necessarily be about its characters. It can be like about the world or about like whatever the central premise is. But this movie is committed to its characters, but also this sort of heightened world and its main message, and then its other message, and then another third message. And like it just commits to so many more things than it should. Like, I'm a few more passes at this script, taking things out to focus things up, would make this like hit a lot harder.
Yeah, it could have been a powerful commentary on any of those like 5 things, but it wasn't.
Maybe one of those things. Yeah.
Wendy?
I think something that you said made me think of, it's not really like, this is not like my field of expertise at all. So if you guys know, you should jump into this. But actually, like there is a realm of storytelling that I think does like kind of dovetail with this. And it's like medieval allegory, like Chaucer kind of gets into this, where the characters aren't characters. They're just like flattened out examples of, they're meant to be like representations of certain things. And the story isn't a story because it's a way of reflecting on, whatever the allegory is about, which I kind of, this is also kind of a territory where my writing sometimes wanders into, where it is like a tale that is not about the story. It is not about the characters. It's about other stuff. And yeah, I do think probably Jeremy's point of view is like his point about there being like the story being a bit overstuffed. I think that's like I feel like you're making like little explosions of thinking going on in my head, because it's like, yes, I think like that allegorical element could have been dialed up and been made more clear if it had been trimmed a little bit more focused on one particular message. But it also probably explains why I like it a lot.
I think you're pointing to one of the things that I really bothered me the most, is because I see what it's trying to do, and I think you're right. I just finished the Canterbury Tales, so I'm like really excited to talk about this. I think the level to which Chaucer excellently did that kind of allegory. One sec. My dogs are being real loud. The level where Chaucer like expertly did, using the characters and the setting themselves, not even what they do, is subtle and also sometimes heavy-handed, but like so balanced that there's a reason it's a classic, and there's a reason that it's like stuck in the canon for so long. And that's where I will always stick to the objectivity thing, because Chaucer does something so genius with, he'll have characters who are a representation of like a medieval archetype that was a real type of person in his time, tell a story that is entirely opposite of their character. So like you have, the nun's priest is telling this like story of infidelity and like disgusting, just like acts of, I might have that one wrong, but you have a lot of those instances where like virtuous types are telling the most base, disgusting tales. And I think him wanted to do that, but it never does the subtle thing. It just like beats you over the head with its messages, to the point where I was getting like, I don't mind Christian critique. I welcome it a lot of the times, because I'm like, I want to see the other side. I want to see this argument against the thing. But when it's just like, you introduce it at the beginning and then you keep reminding us, okay, the football thing looks like an altar, and we're basically praying to this guy Isaiah, and yes, it's like worship. And I was like, okay, I get it. And then they're like, in case you didn't, here's the Last Supper. Just like in my face. I was like, okay, like I get it. He's Jesus for football. Like, you can stop beating me in the face with that.
Honestly,
so I think
I was more on board with that than the rest. I'm like, okay, that's actually pretty sick.
But I think you point to something good, Wendy, of like, I think that can also jar people if they see the potential of something they really love and they see it squandered, which is kind of what I saw there. And some people might not have, but I really thought it was too heavy-handed with that attempt at that Chaucerian, if that's even a word, allegory. Jeremy, sorry I jumped in there.
No, you're good. I was mainly going to agree with you and Wendy and everybody, and most of all, Jeff C. Carter, who in the comments said that that they needed a few more spiral passes of the script, and I mean, I can't outdo that. That's incredible. Thank you, Jeff.
Nothing better we could possibly go to break on. So we should do that. We're going to take 5, everybody. Everybody go do what you need to do. I'm going to feed my cat because that is what she's telling me needs to happen. And we'll be back in about 5 minutes. Hello, fermented folks. Welcome to another episode of Fermented Fiction, the first of our new season, and I believe it's season 4. The show where we drink beer and argue with each other and bring on really awesome creative guests.
if you'll permit me to go a little bit outside the box. Once upon a time, apparently, people used to sniff mummy remains, powdered mummy remains, like cocaine. So I think 3 lines of powdered mummy remains, if you can get to that as well. Yeah, that'll get you right to really enjoy the movie, you know.
Dave told us all about making a mead, and I talk shit about Tom Bombadil, as I am wont to do whenever people bring up Lord of the Rings.
You would. You should.
And then that's
Everybody
exactly what he
freaking
made.
chill about Tom Bombadil, or I'll get unreasonably upset.
So, in your assessment, what did you think of the everyone kind of paired off, or at least a number of people did, romantically? How'd you feel about that? Did that seem really forced and dumb to you, or?
Tom Bombadil is a merry old fellow with his bright blue jacket and his boots are yellow. Right?
It's our yellow.
Right.
Imagine discovering mummy remains and oh my God, these ancient figures. Dude, what if we crushed this and snorted it, yo? I bet we'd get fucked up.
Let's talk for a moment about the fucking all-star cast in this movie. We have Ewan McGregor slaughtering it the entire time, main character energy, top to bottom. You can't argue with it. Women want him, men want him, everybody wants Ewan McGregor. Okay? If you don't agree with that, you're lying to yourself.
Apparently she had a backstory, but they cut it because she's very hard-nosed at the beginning. And then I will say another pro of this movie is their chemistry is hot. And I feel if they didn't have that chemistry, I would have been ugh. Because she says at one point, she's oh, it's the apocalypse. What are we going to do? Fuck. And he's and then later when they are kissing, if they didn't have chemistry and if it was 2 lesser actors, I think it would have been an eye roll, felt cheesy, but you feel their bond.
The Langoliers themselves were originally going to be portrayed by puppets. And I think maybe they should have. Maybe they should have.
Dude, that's amazing.
There's no maybe about that.
And I wish that I could say that there was something greater happening here than the war diary of a broken man living as sort of this White Tower academic with all of his friends sitting inside the Eagle and Child drinking beer and pretending Magic Lion Jesus isn't really silly. Because it is. If we can just all be very honest with each other.
The Lord's work out there. Good job.
I like to think that I am. Most people aren't big enough, but I am. I'm willing to step up. You know?
Yeah. Dedicate that time. You're willing to dedicate that time.
The time, the money, all of it.
That was so painful. It's one of those painful things.
That was so
life.
good. That was so good. We've never been so savagely attacked by any author on their show. It's incredible.
We're
A
still
break
live.
is done.
We've done it.
Yeah.
We have done it. We're just waiting on our fantastic guest, Wendy. And I just want, while Wendy's coming back, I want the record to show 2 things.
Do you now?
I fully disagree with the objectivity stance. Well, not fully. I think Clayton has.
We know that.
We know that. Yep. But 2, this is not a debate show, so I'm not, I swear to you, not going to focus.
it isn't
more of my
not
questions
a
on.
debate show.
I
It's
really
not
do
a
think
debate show.
I think one of our phone call conversations where we just do philosophic ramblings, we should talk about this objective threshold idea. I think it's a nice compromise. And I am
It's not
acknowledging
that.
the existence of objective standards. I just don't think that they can fully classify everything. But it's not a debate show, like you said. And Wendy's back, so now we can quit being stupid. I have a question. Can I kick
I'm
us off
not
with
going
a
to
question?
quit being
Please,
stupid, though.
Clay, quick, kick us off.
That's fair, Jeremy.
I also make no promises about not being stupid. So
Maybe it was stupid of me to even ask that.
yeah, you were stupid.
I'll probably never know. Too stupid for it. Luckily, we have Wendy, who is smart, which is why we'll start with her.
Pressure.
Is anybody else pissed off there was no fucking football in this movie?
Yeah.
I mean, a little
Come
bit.
on now. I need just a taste of it. I like the idea. I'm a huge fan of stories that are about people we don't expect them to be, or times in that person's life that we don't expect. I think that's one of my favorite, like, little slants on a story. Like, one of my favorite examples is The Blade itself. Like, our main character is a torture master who's like severely crippled. Yeah, you didn't see that coming, you know? But that's where we're at. And this movie, it did that. I mean, it was cool. It was cool for most of the movie to be the recruitment process. I think that's a great place to talk about the message this movie was trying to talk about and the pressures on these young men to go out and like live up to these just insane amounts of pressure and expectation. But like, give me one fucking football game. Come the fuck on. Like, I didn't even get to watch our GOAT in action. Like, you could have showed me that game on the screen. Like, I just want to see a couple formations. I want to see a couple slant routes, you know, some big hits, a big sack, perhaps. Like, give me something.
Yeah. That was one of my thoughts walking away from this, which I was surprised at having, is usually I say the opposite these days, that most TV shows try and stretch a wire thin plot out over like 8 episodes and should have just been a movie. But I think this is the exact opposite. I think this would have served well of like being a concept that is played out over a longer period of time as a television series, maybe in the style of American Horror Story, in that kind of like Ryan Murphy directorial thing that I think it was doing. And I think like we could have gotten the recruitment stage. We could have maybe even gotten like Isaiah could have been more fleshed out, of like, he doesn't just die. He has to like come to terms first with like having to retire. And maybe they have a thing where Ham is the backup quarterback, knowing that he's like getting into this whole thing.
I would totally watch that show.
And we
if
see
that was
some,
like 10 episode show, I would watch.
Yeah,
it.
we see some games, like a little mini series. I think that would have actually served this particular story and commentary a lot better than this weird like hour and 45 minute beat you over the head with its message kind of fast track we got. Jeremy.
See, I have 2 points. One, to your last point is I do think this would work incredibly well as a show with all the points this movie is trying and falling short of making. I like some halfway point between like Severance and Ted Lasso would be absolutely incredible.
That's a great comp too.
It would be, oh my God, I would be here for it. But I mean, what I was going to answer originally is that I was really upset that there was no football in this movie being played, not even a single game.
No.
And I was upset mostly because basically nobody believes, because of my entire vibe, that I would ever know anything about like sports in general. And I played football for like a lot of years. And that's one area where I could be like, you know, I know some stuff. First downs, I know how you get there and shit. It's crazy.
Hell yeah.
I'm not just talking about bases with the ladies.
That's right.
I don't think they call that first down.
No bases.
No bases.
No bases in football.
They're downs.
Hey, that's a fermented fact. Middle of the episode. Yeah.
It's also not like more likely they'd think Jeremy was talking about the ladies than sports.
Yeah.
I don't think. I just had to fire one back.
Yeah, you did fire one early at him, Jeremy.
Yeah, I had to fire one back.
You're saying you're firing one back, but like, I fully agree with you. People just think that people see me and they feel like I just walked out of a library somewhere where I've been reading for the past 30 years.
Little do they know you only started reading when we made you on this show.
Yeah, kind of. my entire academic career was people telling me to read books, and then I didn't.
Right.
Yep.
And I took the test and got a B.
Nice.
Hell yeah. Way to go, buddy. That's not going to get you to GOAT status, but it will get you. It'll get you to fermented fiction.
It
Wendy,
sure will.
what do you think about
What do you
the
think?
football
Yeah.
or lack thereof?
Oh, it could have definitely. It really needed some football. I feel like you can't promise. Like the trailers clearly were about football, and then I mean it's nice that he's at training camp. That's great. People do need to train, but gosh dang it, like nobody said 1st and 10, do it again. Like I mean that's what it's all about.
Well, it would have been hard to get all those non-NFL fans to show up. You would have had to pay a lot of extras. Yeah, I do feel like that's the promise of the premise, right? And that is kind of one of those sacred promises that I think we have in genre fiction, any fiction. But like readers, no matter what they're reading, like they're going in to read a type of story. And I think people went into this for horror, but I did go into it specifically for like sports horror. Like that's what I wanted to see. It's not done very often. I do really like when it's done. And generally when it's done, it's adventure sports or something where it's like as much about nature horror as it is actually the sport. You know, there's a couple that do that, but like even The Descent, I would say, is more like a nature horror movie with some sports in it. This movie was promised to me to be a sports horror movie. And while it utilized a lot of like sports culture to sort of weaponize sports culture as the horror mechanism, it was like I didn't get much fucking sports in this movie. I just got like talking about sports and training for sports. And I was an athlete my whole life. I don't need to like watch more practices. I want to watch games. That's where I'm at with it.
Jeremy?
I mean, yeah, like, and I went into this movie fairly blind, except for like looking at the poster where the guy's doing full Jesus pose with some footballs covered in blood. And like,
great. It's a great poster.
Especially seeing like Monkey Paw in the opening credits. This would have been so cool as a movie with a maybe enhanced individual kind of carving a bloody murder canyon all the way to the friggin' championship and kind of like maybe losing his mind a little bit on the way there. And I would have been like, ooh, yeah, I'm gonna just give me some popcorn, baby.
Every single game, another player gets hurt, right? Like it's right there. Like every single game, someone gets hurt. If someone tries to sack him and he's just like, boom, sit down.
Yeah.
Like an offensive
and
lineman,
then like in the semifinals, he like
or a
kills
defensive
a
lineman.
guy. Like ooh.
First death ever
Ooh.
in what is this called? American AFA, FFA, AFFA, or
The USFF.
USFF. That's right. That's right. Not the NFL
Wendy?
at all.
Yeah, like when he got hit on the head and was gonna miss out on like the big combine experience, I was like, ooh, yes, this is a setup. He doesn't get to go to the Saviors. It's gonna be a classic underdog story. He's gonna join some other team. It's gonna be kind of like not his dream. And he's going like there's gonna be somehow mayhem and horror, and it's gonna like work out. So it's man versus man, monster versus monster. It's gonna be amazing. And it was like, oh, we're going to training camp. It's so great. It's like what? I'm here for a sports movie, which means I'm here for an underdog story. That's why I watch sports movies.
That's true. They are almost always underdog stories because otherwise it's like we don't want to watch the New England Patriots go win their 7th Super Bowl. Like nobody wants to watch that movie. Fuck that
Not
movie.
even people from Boston want to watch that.
Well, yeah, assholes definitely want to watch that. And that's who they are.
Now you're making me want to make a sports movie that's just like Dynasty, and it's like not even like exciting.
Yeah.
There's no drama. It's just like
just
we've
the
been
Patriots
good
winning forever.
and we're still good.
Or the Chiefs right now. Yeah.
I
Please
think this
don't.
movie gets really held back by like, I mean, a lot of people have a very clear understanding of the tropes associated with sports and with horror. And in trying to subvert all of that, the movie just kind of goes bananas and with very little payoff to it. Like, it just makes you more confused, or it made me more confused the more I thought about it, just the whole time. I don't know. What do you think, Clay?
No, I think that's a really good point. I think it was very blatantly trying to subvert a trope with the not giving us football, right? That was very obviously they wanted to be like edgy, like, oh, we're never going to show any football, not even on the TV. All we're going to show is super gory injury because this sport's about injuries. So yeah, it was it was kind of that sort of vibe.
Edgy or cheap?
What's that?
Edgy or cheap? Because they
Edgy or
managed to
cheap.
save a lot of cast by not having that many characters, not having that much action.
Oh, and trying to coordinate believable professional level football, like with the stunt teams, you would just have to hire 2 football teams, basically. And like, I'm sure those contracts are not cheap because football players make a lot of money. Although you could probably go to Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson's football league and hire a couple of those teams. That would
he'd be insulted. He'd be insulted that you would even dare.
This movie's about your league, Dwayne. Stay with the program and chip in.
Yeah, come on,
Travis.
just. It would be so good, Rock the Dwayne Johnson. Let's do it.
Yeah. I'll lead into my next question, but I do want to say I want to give this movie one compliment, sort of, that turns into an insult.
Get it out of the way.
Because it started with what I thought was going to be like the most blaringly first like commentary it makes is the like sort of worship of football with the altar that's designed exactly like a prayer altar. But the second thing that I thought it was going to go into more, and it kind of never did, is something I've been ranting and raving about a lot. And that's how, like, I don't think a lot of athletes realize the level of influence, and maybe they do and they don't care, but the level of influence they have on children's behavior that are watching them. And like, I constantly talk about that, especially with my students, of like just because you see someone do it on TV does not mean it's a behavior you should emulate. And like, I get pretty up in arms when players throw like huge tantrums, because I think they're held to a higher standard because they're on national television watched by thousands of children who are going to be like, oh, well, I'm just going to call them out. Travis Kelce pushed his coach, so I can push my coach. And it's like, that's not how you should act. And he apologized for that, but you're not thinking about the apology, kid. You're thinking about the action you saw on the field. And you're like, oh, that's my favorite player, so I'm just going to do it. I thought they were going to lean into that with the kid, like going like, I'm him, and like all that. I was like, oh, this is like, maybe this will be something I really love. And I didn't think they did it. Maybe I missed them trying to do it, but yeah, I didn't see too much of that. Yeah, I'd love to hear y'all's thoughts on that first, and then I have another question, but did I miss something? Or is there some things they set up that they didn't pay off?
So what would you say the specific question is?
I guess, is there themes that were themed? Did they throw a lot of darts at the board that they just didn't actually follow? Or do you think those darts were just never thrown at the board, like the one I kind of saw? Or is that sort of thing that's audience specific, I guess?
I don't think you can make the claim that those darts were not thrown. I mean, that most of the darts they threw pretty hard. Like they made big choices in this movie and took big swings. You have to credit them for that. But like, yeah, when you do take a big swing, nobody doesn't see it. You know, you can't pretend you weren't going to swing at that one. You swung at that. And like, they swung at a lot of stuff. Like they swung really hard at sports injuries. They swung really hard at the culture around that. And even to the level of like the professionals, which like, I don't know, every time I was in a sports medicine situation, they were always the ones that were like, no, you can't do anything for a long time. And then your coach was like, how do you feel? You know, and you were an athlete and you would decide how you felt. Like that's a conversation that needs to be had, and there's a lot more nuance to it than like coaches are assholes and athletes are dumb and like sports doctors work for the team. It's like, that's sure, some of that is sometimes true, and a lot of the time it fucking isn't. Like, people are people, you know. But anyway, I could say I think they took a lot of big swings. They used it all the way down to like, again, like the editing, the lighting, the camera work to make cool x-ray shots and stuff with sports injury culture. But I didn't really see a definitive like stance on it necessarily. I saw a lot of people being assholes about it, and Cam being manipulated by the system. But I didn't really see them drawing. I don't know. It's hard to draw a line in the sand, I guess, when all you do is criticize something. I didn't see any, like, I guess you could say at the end, the sports doctor had some heroic attributes, but he ultimately just died for those pretty immediately. And so it's like, I don't know. It didn't seem like he was a good character, like a moral character. If he'd have been a moral character, then maybe I would buy that, but I just didn't. It felt like it was just kind of there. So I think what you're saying about the Catholics or Christian criticism is similar with the sports medicine criticism, and is, in my opinion, also pretty similar in the like hypermasculinity criticism. Like, yeah, there's real criticism to be had there. For sure. Hypermasculinity has caused just innumerable problems. So I'm not saying it hasn't, but I don't know. I've also thrived in that culture and learned from that culture. There are moments where that is acceptable. It just gets super fucking jacked and like be ready to go to war with your team. Like, that's also natural human behavior and not inherently evil. And I don't believe that. And I feel like this movie expected me to believe it. Like, it expected me to be on its team. And that annoys me when it's like, no, if you want me to be on your team, then fucking prove your point to me. Don't just like say like 10 points and be like, everybody hates this shit, right? And I'm like, I hate lots about that shit, lots of aspects of that shit. I understand why culture is turning against that shit as like the only way to fucking be. That's wrong. But like, not everything about sports is evil. Like, I love sports. So like, I will die on that hill. Like, sports are as good for people as art is. But I also understand why people have bad relationships with both, you know, like all the evil exists too, but like there's good there too. And if you don't even show me the good, I don't believe your fucking criticism. You just come across as bias. So I guess maybe that's my problem with the thematic elements. I don't know if I sound like a total dipshit. Probably.
No, not at all.
No,
Jeremy?
Like, I think, well, first of all, if we're thinking of like Travis Kelce, by now we're all thinking of his legendary hog.
Don't say it.
You knew I was going to. Travis.
I haven't heard it. I haven't heard the song. I don't want to.
Just listen to it's fine. It's a redwood tree. And we're gonna move on. We can be adults about this, Travis.
Oh man.
Okay. Let's just okay. But secondly, I think that is the crux of it. And I think that's why everything falls flat for me, is because it's like when you watch like a spoof movie that just relentlessly says, oh, look at this thing and how shitty it is. That's not interesting to me. And you see that kind of with the things that get brought up in this movie, like the hero worship and like the religious imagery and like the cult things and the injuries. Like, it all says, hey, this is all really messed up. And it doesn't do anything to say like why this character would even be interested in like pursuing this lifestyle. It doesn't call attention to like it calls attention to that fans are going crazy for the shit these people are doing, but it doesn't show any like understanding. It's not coming from a place of like, I don't know, like love, if that makes sense. Like it's what we were talking about on a previous episode of like why I love like Dragon Ball Z Abridged, which clearly loves the thing that it's making fun of the whole time. But you know, other things will fall flat. Like a lot of the Scary Movie franchise, just like, you know, I don't care about it. And I think that's kind of the zone this movie unexpectedly falls into for me. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm in agreement with you guys that what makes one of the things that this movie really fails with is that it doesn't say anything good inside it. And it's like, I love sports. I mean, I love, like, running is like my favorite activity, and it's really important to me, and I love being around other runners. And I feel like there was an entry point in that movie, like the one character trait that the main character has is he cares about his family. And I feel like when you're with your people that are doing your activity, you feel like a lot of that family. And it would have been very easy to show like him bonding with his teammates and having that sense of community. And they never went there. They never even tried to show like this good aspect. It's just like, oh, they're tough football players. Of course, they're like roar with each other, instead of showing like that sports are like one of the best ways that we can make connections. And I think it was also a failure in understanding who the audience would be. Like, most people who want to go see a football horror movie are people that like sports and think that sports are a really great contribution to the human like condition. And it doesn't like one of the messages of the movie is like, oh, it's so terrible that these people are like trying to push themselves to their physical limits. Whereas I think most of us would agree that there's something like really noble and great about trying to push yourself to your physical limits just to see what you can do and grow as a human being. And the movie completely misses out on that. And I also feel like another problem with the movie is that the ending, the big build-up message, is apparently that the big takeaway we were supposed to get is that what is wrong with football is like it's the focus on money, and it's the manipulation of players via like, you know, the management, and that they're like getting all this stuff out of it. And yes, the players make their own money. You sign the contract, you get the gifts. But I feel like that wasn't well established throughout the rest of the movie. Mostly the focus is on the conflicts between the players in practice, like these two main quarterbacks. And so I feel like I think most of us would agree that yes, that is probably what is wrong with professional sports, are all the people that like wreck it because they make money with it. I mean, for example, in my sport, running, you know, you have like the incredibly horrible case of what happened with the Nike's Portland running team, where they like manipulated people, maybe gave them like steroids without them knowing. You had a coach who was just like completely breaking down people and like locking them in like houses and keeping them away from their families and like giving them, you know, eating disorders. Why? So because he thought that was like going to result in big payoff, and he had this like giant ego. You know, so those people really are the people that are wrecking sports. And don't get me started. I could go on all day about the way that Nike manipulates like high school and college and professional athletics in all sports. And they're the devil. Actually, that would make a great horror movie. But yeah, and so that is one of the problems, is that we do not see enough of the true villain at work throughout the movie to make that ending pay off. And we don't see enough of like the good stuff about sports to make us believe and why the characters would be into it. And I just feel like maybe they needed some more people on the team who understood sports to really, really make this movie pay off.
Yeah, and I think, Wendy, the movie you're describing has been made very well. It's about a jazz drummer, and it's called Whiplash.
Yeah, that's true.
That's a great movie. Yeah.
Displayed all of that in like fantastic fashion.
Exactly. You're totally right, Wendy. That's the reason, like, and that's the risk of not building out your characters as much in place of your theme, is like you don't have anything to lean on if you don't deliver really like convincingly and satisfactorily on your theme, right? But like these, because we'll fall back on characters if that doesn't happen, if the characters make a meaningful change and we care that they did. But like we don't quite have that in this movie, so I feel like they did try. I just don't think they did. I think it went the opposite direction every time. Like they tried to show us some community at like that big house party, but Cam's just like in his hoodie, not hanging out with anybody, and it's like, I mean, this doesn't feel like a good community. You're painting this as like the rewards you're being promised. It's sort of like the message I got from it was like, these are the rewards you want. You want hot women, and you want huge drug and sex parties, and you just want to like blare that hip hop as loud as possible and be the person that the hip hop song is talking about. And it's like all that is painted in such a negative light because of our only character lens relativity to it. It's like he doesn't enjoy it, so we don't enjoy it. So we're like, well, this is depressing, you know, like I don't feel community here. But that's what people do sports. That's like a big part of what people do sports for. And like that's vital. Like when you go to college and you have the privilege to be on a team, college is a way easier place to start, I think. You just have an inbuilt community, and you get to meet their friends and like the other sports teams, and you have inbuilt rivalries and everything, which is, you know, which can be fun. So it's like, it's really damaging to a movie about a sport to take that out of the sport and show if you don't show me the good, I'm like riding on a train in the dark, you know, like a tunnel, like everything's so dark. I have no perspective anymore of like what I am supposed to believe in, or if there is any light here. And I like dark stories, but like the best dark stories, I think, give you a glimpse of what's at stake, what you're losing, what you cannot stop the demise of, you know. I don't see any of that in here. I'm like, okay, I guess your life just sort of sucks, and that sucks for you.
Mm-hmm. You know, and I always hate to say that something, especially as it pertains to storytelling, is easy, but there is an easy way to make the obsessive pursuit of perfection into a compelling and understandable story where you like sympathize with the main character. And especially in a team setting, like that can easily be part of that. Like I know when I played football, my teammates put a lot of pressure on me to like care as much as they did, and I didn't, because like how could I? I'm not that guy that cares a lot about winning when like it was a big deal. Like for the first season I played in high school, when we finally had a game where we scored a touchdown, that was, oh boy, we weren't good enough for me to care about our record, okay? And yet my teammates got pissed at me for not being bummed out when we'd lose. Like, yeah, we lose all the time. Why would this is just a regular part of my weekend now, you know? But, you know, there's a really compelling and watchable story in that direction that this movie just felt like subverting, maybe to not hire as many people, maybe for that, but also maybe just to be surprising. But you know, it's surprising if somebody just like unprompted sings the first act of Les Mis before taking a dump on my coffee table and running away, that doesn't mean I'm happy with it. I don't know. I just don't know.
Wendy? You're still muted.
Nice. Somebody else on this show did that finally.
Something Clay mentioned is like the sense of stakes, which is a place where I think they really fell down on the job in this story. For one thing, like, we don't really see like what the disadvantage would be if Cam doesn't make it as a professional football player. Like, he lives in a very happy middle-class family. His mom's very supportive. Everything's hunky-dory. His main motivation seems to be like that his dad wanted him to be a football player, and he told his dad he didn't want to be a football player, and then his dad died. But that's kind of like a tossed off moment. And it's just really, really hard to be super into his motivation, in part because there are so many fantastic football movies where like the stakes are so great. I'm trying to think. There's like one about college football that had Omar Epps that came out in like the 90s. I can't think of what it's called. Every character has this like really, really like intense relationship with football. They really care about it, and they also have like personal lives where succeeding makes a huge difference. Many of them are like dealing with poverty situations. Of course, I'm thinking as well of the book and movie and TV show that is just so good, Friday Night Lights. The book is one of the most like amazing books. Oh, The Program, yeah, that's what it was. I love that movie. Like Friday Night Lights, all three versions of it, but it's just spectacular because every single kid has such an incredible story of why football matters to them and why their life will totally suck if they can't keep playing it. Yeah. And the main character in him does not have that kind of story. So not only does it make the stakes in that movie feel a little low, it also is like, it's following in the footsteps of giants. Like, really one of the best things about so much of our like genre of football is that high stakes storytelling. So kind of a letdown there.
Yeah, and it was a change from a genre that's usually pretty easy to I don't know, sell well. Like, sports movies to me seem like if they're not exceptionally good, they're usually pretty entertaining. And there's exceptions, obviously, where some are just too heavy-handed and dumb and blah blah. But that genre, especially football dramas, like, I know I'm at least gonna see one compelling like football scene where I'm like cheering for the screen. And I think you pointed to one of my one thing I kept thinking about is like the girlfriend is just kind of there. And then like she calls and then he like cheats on her, but it's not really a plot point. And she's just there.
Literally all his emotional motivating like characters that he interacts with just get straight fridged.
They're just gone.
They do literally. Like,
he's like, you can't use your
enough.
phone. You can't use your phone, so these people are just gonna disappear. But I can't let this episode slip away, Wendy, without asking this question of you, because we have you on the show and you have expertise in a thing that's so amazing. You're an editor for a magazine. You read other people's work. You publish reviews. You publish stories. You publish fiction, nonfiction, all this. And like, that's such an amazing thing. And you're part of what we're doing right now. And I think this movie in particular made me think about that and just asking you about that business, because it's getting hounded by critics. There is definitely parts of it that don't deserve hate. Like, again, stylistically, it's not my favorite, but I can recognize it does its style well. It's just not a style I enjoy. But it's, it's got a pretty low score. Damon Wayans came out and basically said the old "don't listen to critics all the time. They're like art is misunderstood" line on Instagram, which, you know, power to him for sticking with his guns and really supporting his project. But I just would like to get your general thoughts on that, of like being in the business of review, of critique, but also of like having a unique position to elevate voices. Is it a lot of pressure? Is it hard to deal with? Like, where do I draw the line of like what needs to be seen? Yeah, can you just maybe walk us through that? Because I'm sure it's a hard thing to be an editor of an awesome magazine.
Oh, geez, boy, you ask the hard questions, don't you? Yeah, it is. It's funny. I only took over as editor-in-chief of Nightmare in like 2020, and well, 2021 is when my like first issue came out, but I was like doing all the prep work all through 2020. So it's like when you're not running a magazine, you're like, oh, I could do this so much better, right? You just think that all the time, but there's so much that goes into like the project of picking out what goes into it. And there is a lot of pressure because it's like you have a small budget, you're trying to balance the needs of the budget with like you have all these like artistic ideas, like I'm gonna make the magazine just so good, and it's gonna like, we're gonna do like groundbreaking stuff all the time, and at the same time you're like, well, I also want to make sure like I've got our goal at Nightmare, we don't focus on like a particular kind of horror like at some magazines, like, Weird Tales, for example. It specializes in weird horror. I'm trying to think of like other good examples. But yeah, our thing is like, and I made it explicit when I took over that I wanted to try to really publish a diverse variety of horror and try to get, before, I think that the focus was dark speculative stuff. Like I think the previous editor, his true love is science fiction and he loves fantasy. And so the works that he published were definitely really focused on speculative elements. And, my dream would be like, one issue will have like a whole bunch of slasher stories. The next issue might be totally psychological. Then maybe we'll have a vampire issue. Like that would be the dream. It has never worked out quite that way. But I just want to shine a light on every different kind of horror that I can find. But also you're limited by like what comes in through the slush pile. And, you're trying to balance a wide variety of voices. You want to be publishing writers from other countries. You're trying to make sure that, you're making sure you get Black writers, people from Indigenous writing backgrounds, people of all kinds, because like you want to have just the broadest spectrum of horror possible, but also you get what you get and you don't get upset, right? And also when we do open a submission, it's like, oh my gosh, there's like 1,500 stories and I'm the only one who can make a decision about them. And it's tough. And you make the best choices you can. And it's also like, I'm trying to pick stories that I know that like I can edit and they're gonna, like, I can make them better. Like it's just also about like working with the writer. And I just remember, the first year that I was publishing the magazine, we got like so many great story submissions, and there were 2 stories. I've had enough money to buy one more story like from that pile, and I had 2 great stories, actually both from writers who I knew. Well, the one I didn't know at the time. They were both, I thought, equally great. But the one was just a little bit more bonkers than the other, and I was like, well, for me, maybe this works a little better. It just seemed a little like, when I read it, I had like some distinct ideas of like, oh, I would ask the author writer to do X, Y, and Z to make it a little bit better. The other one I was like, I feel like maybe something could be maybe a little bit sharpened. I don't know exactly what that was. So I accepted the one and not the other. The story I bought, it ran in our magazine. People liked it. The other story wound up getting picked up by The Dark, and it, made Year's Best Horror and got nominated for a bunch of awards. And it's like, oh, I had the chance to buy that and I didn't. And you just feel like absolute crap because that kind of thing happens all the time. But at the same time, it's like, well, I don't know, maybe if I had published it, I would have made some dumb suggestion that would have messed it up or something. So I'm sure it went to the right place and all that is great, but it's impossible not to second guess yourself all the time. And it's like, when it comes to publishing reviews and criticisms, that's tough. In particular, because it's like I inherited we only run reviews once a quarter, basically. I inherited that guy from the previous editor. He's a great guy. I love Adam. He's like a member of the family. But he gets to choose what books he gets to review, and yeah. So I don't know. It's like it's all tough, right? And when you come up as a writer and you've just been you're one of those people that's lobbying the stories and you're like, God, why can't an editor pick me? You just think yeah, I'm just when you get the job, you're like, well, I'm just another writer. I'm just putting together, I'm doing the best I can. But then you start to see people respond to your choices and you're like, holy shit, I'm a freaking gatekeeper, right? I'm ruining people's lives. And that's a horrible feeling. It's a kind of power over other people that I never wanted to have. And, when I took the job, I didn't even think about the fact that was a power I did have. And sometimes I read my work very slowly because it's sometimes I'm just I have to take a little break from that because to me it's a horrible feeling, and I feel like that's probably dumb to admit, and other editors will be like, oh, you're such a baby. And I know I've definitely had seen people on the internet being like, oh, if it's too hard for you, people shouldn't be editors if they get well, I'm really good at most parts of the job. I just feel sad and depressed and overwhelmed sometimes.
How dare you?
I think.
How dare you, Wendy? Have human emotions.
I don't know if it will do anything. It probably won't. But this is my 2 cents on this subject, and hopefully it makes you feel better. I think gatekeepers get a bad rap for a good reason. Sometimes because gatekeeping can be crappy, like the type where the cigar club guy is sitting outside, not letting anyone that doesn't look exactly like him inside. That's bad. But I think there's a beauty to criticism online and this is something I've always really disliked about how much people hate Rotten Tomatoes when I'm like, I think you're just using it wrong. Find your person that you trust and that you have seen a lot of the stuff they've reviewed and you generally have the same ideas and even sometimes see that they disagree with you, but you respect the way they do. And you're probably going to have a better time for the rest of your life watching movies by just going to that person and be like, you're my guy or gal, and you're telling me what to watch. And usually that doesn't do me dirty. And I think editors, critics, people who get to make these selections, there's so much work out there. And I really appreciate when I can go to a place and just see, hey, I trust this person. They said this thing's good, so I'm going to read it and I'm probably going to have a good time. And I think even now more so in the modern day, there's so many outlets where you can just go read the stuff that does get rejected. That's on the online forums. It's on the self-published Reddit pages, or I don't remember what the writing communities are called. But it's not you can't go read your friend's story that didn't get into the magazine. But I think the gatekeepers maybe sometimes shouldn't get as much hate and should maybe get a little bit of applause for if I build enough trust in the right type of gatekeeper, I know that my reading experience and my viewing experience is going to consistently bring me joy rather than make me watch something that I hate, like this movie.
Oh, thank you, Travis. That's nice.
Nightmare is
Yeah,
certainly a gate you want to enter. It is a safe place to be. It is an awesome place to be. You can trust Wendy Wagner. Sorry, Jeremy, go ahead.
Oh no, like I think Travis is basically right. There is something really important about like developing a taste for somebody's reviews. Like I have reviewers that I pay attention to even when I know their tastes are different from mine. Like I know when they are like rating something really highly, and I know when they do that, if I will disagree with their assessment because I've paid attention to what they've said and what they are looking for and what they're rating. I I watch a lot of Jeremy John's movie reviews, and we don't have the same tastes, but it's clear to me where we differ and where his recommendations aren't going to work for me. And that's an important sort of skill to develop when looking at reviews.
It's fun too when you become that. I don't know, Wendy, if you have this with like just personal circles. It's fun when you become that for like friends. Like I've become that in a lot of my like personal circles.
That is fun.
Yeah, it's really fun. Especially like I have some, I have friends who really love horror and are looking for like the goriest, craziest stuff. And then I have friends that like enjoy the genre, but they're like maybe more like devoutly Christian, and they're like, I'm really sensitive to a lot of this stuff. And so I'll be like, yeah, don't go watch Robert Eggers. Like like it's probably gonna give you nightmares, and just avoid that one. And they're like, okay, thanks. Or like they'll be like, yeah, my wife wants to go to this, and I'm like, I don't think you're gonna like that, man. Like, I
Maybe
think
she should
that's
go
not
by
the
herself.
movie for you. So I don't know if you have that. Like, do you still get to keep those nuggets of like fun, just being a consumer, even though you do it for a job?
I do. I have like weirdly like a whole handful of friends that are like always like, I want to read what you tell me what to read, and that's really fun.
Yes, it is fun to do that. It's fun to become that person for people who they can confide in a really niche thing, where they can't get that anywhere else. There's like a special level of connectivity, just like being on a sports team, just like reading a great magazine. Wendy, can you tell us one more time before we rate this thing where people can find you and your great magazine, and what you're up to right now and next?
Sure. Well, my website is the ridiculously named winnywoohoo.com. And the magazine is nightmare-magazine.com, and we publish free fiction every week on Wednesdays. Right now, I have a book that's going out on submission on Monday, and I'm really, really excited about it. It's about, as my agent keeps saying, this is your book about the werebear.
Nice.
Nice.
So
Very
I'm really
good.
excited. I'm hoping it finds a good home. We'll see. And in the meantime, I'm just like, I've got like some deadlines for some short fiction projects, maybe working on an anthology with a friend.
Nice.
And then in January, we're going to open the submissions at Nightmare again, which is going to be bonkers. Then hopefully I can get back to writing my next novel.
Nice.
Yeah.
When did
And
you say those submissions open?
I haven't picked the date, but in January sometime. And hopefully the goal is that next year, since I don't have a book coming out and I won't have to travel all over the place, the goal is to run an ultra marathon. So that should be fun.
Nice.
Heck yeah.
Awesome.
Heck yeah.
That's great.
Never.
It's going to be a busy year.
Yeah.
I would rather work up to deadlifting 500 pounds than ever run more than a mile. So I greatly respect you. I love lifting heavy boxes. Running is so hard, and I'm always like in awe of people that love it.
Yeah, let me know if
So
you need
just
crew.
get a heart rate monitor. Like, what are you doing?
It is fun. I crew. My wife likes to do long range sports too, so I have crewed a couple of her events in a small way. But it's really fun. I actually really enjoy crewing. That's like hanging out, camping, and throwing footballs around until people show up, and then you like pit crew them, and then they go back out there.
That's a
It's
dangerous
awesome.
promise to have made, Clay. I might hold you to it.
Oh yeah, I saw a shirt that said, "I won't do it, but I'll crew it." That's my mantra.
Nice. I love
Yeah.
that.
Very good.
But yes, go check out Wendy's stuff. All of her links will be in the show notes. And let's find out one more nugget of wisdom from Wendy and the rest of the crew here. Let's get a rating. Speaking of criticism, speaking of objective truths, our rating system certainly does not lean into that. It leans rather into chaos, because we rate things by the ridiculous scale of how many drinks do you need to enjoy this movie to the fullest, or substances if you prefer other things. There are certain movies like this one that require a couple grams of like, not acid, but mushrooms for sure. I think a couple grams of mushrooms would have done me right with this movie. So that's going to be my rating, actually, just right away. There's 3 grams of mushrooms. Go on a journey and get swept into the like visual awesomeness of this movie, and don't care that there's not like a plot, because maybe the plot is the movie's very existence. Travis.
I'm gonna be a little brutal. You're gonna open something. It could be beer. It doesn't matter. Mead, whiskey, don't care. And you're gonna take a drink every time this movie is excessively heavy-handed with its messaging. Every time the script seems to force wooden acting. B, every time Julia Fox just plays herself. C, and every time. This one's fun. Here's my less angry one. Every time it seems like Marlon Wayans is just having the best time of his life. And you're going to make it about 50 minutes on that game before you pass out on the couch and you wake up and you're like, oh, I didn't get to see the ending. And you have to rewatch it. And then that'll just be an endless cycle until you realize you have a problem and have to go to rehab.
Because it sounds like you're just drinking the whole time.
I really didn't like this movie.
Like you push play and then you're just you go.
Yeah, I mean that does sound like the vibe. What's your vibe, Jeremy?
Yeah, I think to me it would avoid the ending, which we didn't get to talk about a bunch, but that one really put the nail in the coffin. Sorry, Jeremy.
I mean, I felt like by the time we got to the ending, I was like, okay, yeah, this might as well also happen, I guess. Okay.
Yeah, right. That's where I was too. I was like, sure.
Like, sure. I guess he maybe has a personality. Like, he has feelings about this, I assume. But let's, I'd say you probably want to have, a sip of something whenever something like visually happens that you're like, man, that's actually sick. So that way, by the time the ending rolls around, you're fully on board. You don't feel like you've missed the whatever they needed to really hammer home the messages. You're just on board and like, yeah, stab those guys. Throw that broadsword through that sports executive. it's great. You know, I don't know where that leaves you. Minimum 10 to 65. I don't know.
Okay. And if you want to be him or her, you can combine those two and play on Ultra Demon Sports Hero mode. Wendy, what would you rank this?
Well, the serving size of most marijuana candies here in Oregon is like a half serving. Like we have these really great chocolate covered marshmallows. I highly recommend. They're vegan. If you accidentally eat a whole one, you're set for this. That's the right approach for this movie. I think. Possibly, maybe even have another one on backup.
Yeah, if you're not feeling it, like my training camp, pop the other one.
I have to add, I've had
things. You just go harder.
I've had maybe like one viewing experience on an edible because I don't, consume them very much. No judgment to anyone that does. Not my thing. And like, I don't know. I'm trying to imagine myself watching this as that. And I think I would have called Clayton and been like freaking the hell out. I don't think I would have made it through.
I don't know. I feel like this would have ruled on edibles. And I would have slept so good afterwards.
Yes. So good.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, it's not everything is for everybody. There's plenty to like about this movie. There's plenty of arguments that we've made that can be made against it. You should go see it for yourself. If we haven't completely ruined it for you. I don't think we have. We haven't told you that much about what happened. And honestly, this truly is a movie about the ride of the movie, not like the point of the movie necessarily. So like in terms of story. So you can just go enjoy it, I think. We can't really tell you what it's about. You have to make that up yourself a little bit. So go check it out. We have been the usual doofuses, and Wendy Wagner has been our amazing guest. Thank you so much for being on the show, Wendy.
Thank you so much for having me. This was a blast.
It was a blast. Goodbye, everybody. We'll see you next week.
Bye.
Thank you, Wendy.
Oh, that was awesome.